This is my this is my 15.2 scenarios. Okay, so my first scenario is a football player, Neymar Jr. He plays for PSG on the left wing. So the scenario is that he rolls his ankle in the final preseason game. There's a bit of swelling and redness, so a grade 1, but he decides to ignore it and carry on. He finishes the game, and the next day he goes into training and rolls the exact same ankle again. So instead of it being now a grade 1 injury, it's a grade 2 tear of the ankle ligament. Okay, so first is the stages of grief. So the first one would be denial. So when he first injured his ankle, which is a grade 1, he'd be denying that he's injured, so he goes into training the next day and ignores the injury. Stage 2 would be bargaining. So this would be like fighting against the pain. So he could have strapped up his ankle in between the last preseason game and the training just to ignore it and try and push out the pain and pretend it doesn't exist. The third stage of grief is anger. So when he's told he could be out for 6 months, because that's the time a grade 2 tear in the ligament would be. He could be angry towards that, so he could be angry towards his teammates, angry towards his doctor, something like that. So he'd be missing half the season. That would cause him to be obviously angry. The fourth one is depression. So during those 6 months of rehab, he'd be very on his own and isolated with the team, playing and training and working together. So he could isolate himself from the team as he can't join in on those activities and be a part of the team. And then the final one would be acceptance. So he could eventually, halfway through his rehab, come to terms with his injury, knows he has to work on getting back and working hard to get through the rehab and then going back to playing again. Moving on to the targets, the SMART targets. Short-term targets could be every day, just making sure he keeps a positive mindset, make sure he looks at the positive more than the negatives. Another one could be doing small daily exercises. This could help him with his ankle, such as like calf raises, stuff like that. Just small exercises to help his rehab move on quicker. Another one could be attending training and games, so make sure he's not being isolated, keeping involved with the team, keeping active and motivated. And then the final one could be just a simple one, getting 8 hours of sleep, because sleep is the best recovery for an injury. Mid-term targets could be start building up match fitness, so like 80 to 90%. This could be just working on simple cardio when his ankle feels better, just working on stuff like that. Another one could be regain ability to pass and shoot with the injured leg. So this could be just like once it's stabilized, he could go back to just doing simple passing drills, simple shooting drills, making sure he's get that stability and ability back in his leg. The final one could be reviewing goals and targets to keep positive mindset. So over each month, he could review what he'd done and then see how much he's achieved and what he's looking to achieve in the next month, just keeping himself positive and motivated. The final one is long term. So this could be training fully with teammates, so aiming to get back into the team, appear in a first team game as a sub, so getting on and playing a bit of first team football, getting back in the team. And the final will be playing a full game, so getting fully back into the team, back into playing football again, no injury at all. The strategies he could use during the rehab and injury stage is to make sure he keeps motivated and to make sure he's doing his rehab properly would be to stay involved, like I just mentioned. So going to training and staying around the team. Examples could be giving team talks and advice to players in the dressing room. This can help avoid isolation and depression during the rehab stage, as he feels like he's still part of the team. Another strategy could be imaginary and self-talk. This helps keep a positive mindset and makes them motivated to rehab. This could be helped by going to a psychologist. So just talking about your injury, talking about how you could become better, how this rehab's going to help you. So you could also do self-imagery in game scenarios. So this could be like imagining yourself shooting, stuff like that. This helps the motor reflexes and keeps you in a game day mindset. So when you come back, you're fully prepared mentally. Really helps improve the mental aspect. So next is the stages of healing. So there are 3 stages of healing. So first of all would be the inflammation stage. This would last around 2 to 5 days of the injury. It occurs straight away once the injury happens and causes symptoms such as redness, swelling and pain. This is where the injury is the most painful. The second stage is repair. So this lasts about 4 to 7 weeks with a grade 2. This is where the ankle starts building back strength and stability and range of movement, but you still can't play on it as it's not fully healed. The final one is remodeling. This lasts around 6 months, so pretty much the whole time you're out. This is the forming of scar tissue, so it's got back all its strength, stability, and range of movement. It's just forming scar tissue around it now. It's strong enough to play on. It's just getting your ankle fully back 100%. Okay, moving on now to scenario 2. So my second scenario is a football player, Ross Barkley, central attacking midfielder for Chelsea. So Ross has just returned from a grade 2 6-month hamstring tear, and he's in his first game back, and unfortunately he has the exact same injury halfway through the game. So he'll be out for another 6 months, like his injury before, because it's the exact same one on the exact same leg. Okay, so first off are the stages of grief. So the first one would be anger. So obviously he'd be very, very angry that he'd just come back from all this rehab, a long 6 months out without football, and on his first game back, he does the exact same thing and knows he has to go through the whole rehab process once again. The second stage would be depression. He'd probably get depressed and upset that he has to go through the long process again, doesn't know if he's motivated enough, and could consider things such as retirement or just giving up. And then the final, third and final stage of grief could be acceptance. So he could realise he's too young and too good to give up, and then want to be more motivated to be fit and play again and rehab harder, so this injury definitely doesn't happen again. So moving on to smart targets. So short term would be just to keep a positive mindset every day, make sure staying positive and motivated during this rehab process, because it would be hard for him. Doing small daily exercises such as just hamstring stretches, stuff like that, keeping it mobile and helping it improve, keeping the blood flowing around it. The third one could be attending training and games, just keeping involved, making sure he's not slipping into depression or being isolated, so making sure he's just sitting up and around the team. And then the final one could be get simple things such as 8 hours of sleep, because sleep is the best recovery for any injury. Mid-term could be start building up match fitness again, so just doing simple cardio, helping him get back to match fitness so he can start playing as soon as possible. Second one could be regain ability and pass and shoot with that injured leg. So once it's fully healed, he can get back to doing what he does best, passing, shooting with the ball, doing simple drills. And then third one could be reviewing goals and targets to keep a positive mindset. So every month, reviewing what he's done and looking what he could do in the future, making sure he's keeping motivated on top of that. Long-term goals, so this would be train fully with teammates, so get back into the training with the team, high intensity, stuff like that. Second one could be appear in the first team game as a sub, just getting back into football, getting back into playing. And then the final one could be just a first full Premier League game back, so playing a full game, getting fully back into it, no injuries at all. Strategies he could use during his rehab process to help him and keep mentally and physically, so staying involved, going to training games, being around the team. He could do stuff like give team talks and advice to players in the dressing room. This helps avoid him slipping into depression and isolation because he's around his teammates and feels like he's involved. The second one could be a diary, so keeping a log of the rehab process helps keep a positive mindset and keeps motivated because he can look back on what he's done, look what he could be doing in the future. He could also use it to compare to the last time he was injured, if he did a diary back then, to see how much, see if he's progressing faster, because this could help him keep a positive and motivated mindset. The third strategy could be stress relaxation. This uses techniques to express and release emotion. So the stress could be motivation and relax is the focus. So examples could be stress balls, boxing, music. So just releasing stress and keeping relaxed and stuff like that can help. Okay, so now is the stages of healing, like I said before. So inflammation would last around 2 to 5 days. The inflammation stage occurs straight away and causes symptoms such as redness, swelling, and pain. This is where the injury is most painful. Second stage is repair. This lasts around 4 to 7 weeks. This is all about building back the strength, stability, and range of movement in that hamstring. But you still can't play on it, so it's getting better, but it's still healing. And then the third stage is remodeling. So this lasts around 6 months. the player's strong enough to play on it, but there's still forming a scar tissue, so he's got to be careful with that. But it's still good to play on.